What makes a successful CFO? Transparency, strategic thinking, agile and adaptable, good communicator, commercial acumen, understanding the business, capital allocation, stakeholder management. But I'll go into this a little bit more because then I said, let me think about what Chris just touched on. To say, what really then does the CFO do? Because you've got a number of stakeholders, and on different days, sometimes on the same day, you wear all the hats. Sometimes on different days, you wear different hats. And there's different models for this. This is by some guy called the Secret CFO, now that we are all on X. He does post a lot about the CFO journey. And, he brings out these 5 hats of the CFO, and I can see Nelly nodding because sometimes all the hats are on your head at the same time. But ideally, the CFO is a custodian. Your first role is protection. You protect the company. So whether it's from a controls perspective, it's fraud prevention, it's managing the balance sheet, it's safeguarding tangible and intangible assets, it's cybersecurity, you should be all over that. Now that, you may delegate a lot of this, but you still need to know what's going on there. We're talking about Nelly. A lot of our functions in this space are outsourced offshore. But that doesn't absolve me from the responsibility to make sure that our assets are protected. When the shareholders, when the regulator, when my different stakeholders come up, they don't care who does that for me. I've got to know what's on my balance sheet. I've got to know that my assets actually exist and they're valid. It's an operator, it's day-to-day processes. Again, you can outsource this as much as possible because a lot of it is rote. It's the stuff you learn in school: financial accounting, costing, budgeting, planning. So operations may be done by a lot of my team, but I need to make sure that that is working. And a lot of this, they're not finance processes, they're business processes in which finance is key. The third one, a lot of you have mentioned it, being a leader. This is your as a CFO in defining how should we drive this business. And I find that I do this a lot with my CEO. It's a joint journey to define where is this organization headed? And how do we get there? And how do we know if we're successful? What are we here for? So defining that strategy, capital allocation, shaping the culture by the way we behave, managing the board. Boards are also dynamic. Managing people and talent, and managing stakeholders, Chris, to your point. And we have a diverse range of stakeholders, both external and internal. And all of them are important, even though you might prioritize them differently. The driver, I find I spend a lot of time as the driver. This is where business performance, I call it strategy execution. You can have the best strategy, you don't execute it, it's worth nothing. So your role and my role as a CFO is accelerating business performance. How do we deliver on the strategy? How do we provide insights that help our teams, whether commercial or supply or whatever, corporate banking, retail banking, to help them go after the right thing? Are you the person who in the bank looks at the margins and can tell that the pricing is wrong? Are you the one who's clear on which products are selling best and whether they're linked to the market opportunity and whether they're missed opportunities? So that, if you don't deliver on that, you're probably not going to make it for too long. And finally, the financier. A lot of people think this is what we do all the time. Actually, I find maybe 10% of my time, except during COVID, maybe 30%, but 10% of my time is around financing. Getting capital, dealing with the banks, investor relations, liquidity management, all of that is important. Very critical, because when you don't have money, that's when you know that that role is important. But making sure you've got the right funding at the right price, with the right tenors, you've got the right solutions for your business from a funding perspective is actually very important. A lot of it will be done by your treasurer, but again, you're in charge of the CFO.